take several months. You don't need to be English.
hope everyone had a good weekend this weekend. Before I start, it's a little hot. Before I get started, I have a little story to tell. Me and my wife have been married 15 years. We've been married 15 years, and if anyone knows what it's like to go 15 years and never, not one time, sleep apart. We slept in the same bed for 15 years. It's been awesome. They had the women's retreat over the weekend, and first time we've done that. And I have one question to ask everyone. When's the next one? had a pretty good time. So. Okay. Enough said about that. All right. Welcome home. We're so glad you can join us today at ChristPoint Church. If this is your first time with us, we've got this nice card we'd like for everyone that's first timers to fill out. We've got a nice gift we'd like to give for you when you turn it in the foyer. Excuse me. You can find us on Facebook. Sorry, I laid that right on top of my notes. You can find us on Facebook, ChristPointChurch.org, and then our app, ChristPoint Church of Tennessee. Small group, young small group tonight will be meeting here 5:30 to 8:30 for babysitting. Monday Pinpoint Bible Study will be meeting here at 12 noon. That was a good one. Wednesday Night Fuel, 6 o'clock. Classes start at 6:30. Ladies, the books for women's Bible studies are in. Please see Jamie. She'll get those to you. Studying begins September 1st. Don't forget, 5:30. Men also the same night. Johnny, he's facilitating the one for the men. Get with him for the books. And babysitting will also be here. So that's good. If you don't already give online, here's the card. Fill that out if you give online and turn it in. That way we know who gave and everything, so everything's good. Would everyone please stand? ChristPoint Church, we love loving on people. So shake a few hands, see who all you can meet really quick, and come back and let's have a good worship.
Handheld mic down. Please.
months today. Hey, welcome home, welcome home. Now let me just explain to you that if you are visiting with us, let me just reiterate again, like Johnny said, fill out one of these, please fill out one of these, because we want to stalk you at some point in your life. So please fill one out, and we want to give you a wonderful gift. We want you to have a nice mug to go home with so you can drink coffee out of and or whatever you drink. But we want you to use that mug to do so. Women, did you guys have a nice outing this past week? They saw bears. Oh my! Everything. It's just, Tina keeps telling me that they have bears in the neighborhood. I'm thinking it is the Smoky Mountains. So therefore there are bears in the neighborhood. So these bears were pretty smart apparently. But Johnny and Dubby, you guys have an anniversary win. Yeah. Thursday was their anniversary, and they got to spend some of it apart from one another. Now I've been married, I found this out this morning, I've been married twice as long as you guys have. And Joe back there has been married twice as long as we have. So that's just pretty amazing. So I don't think anybody's in here been married twice as long as Joe has. So welcome home. Welcome to ChristPoint Church. This thing's still pretty hot and buzzing up here. So I want to just take a few minutes and let's shift gears. Let's pray for this morning's tithes and offerings. And I want to say we pray this prayer out loud. It is a prayer that we pray. We mean it when we pray it. And God loves it when we pray out loud together. And this is not a prosperity prayer. It is not a prayer of name it and claim it. It is simply us praying a prayer together out loud. We condition ourselves to believe in what God is doing in our lives. And I believe that He is blessing each and every one of you guys and me as well financially. Because let me tell you something. People say, well, you shouldn't talk about money in the church. Well, Jesus did. And I want to tell you something. I want to pray that you guys are blessed because money is a big part of what we do in our lives. And let me tell you, if you want to get depressed, you want to get down, you want to get the devil on your back, have some money problems. We're praying differently. We're praying that because we give, we're praying that we'll be able to be blessed by the Lord. We're praying that we'll be able to put money into people's lives on top of that. So I want you to raise your hand if you've been affected by us praying this prayer. That's a testimony right there. Let's pray it this morning together. And this is for our tithes and offerings. As we receive this morning's tithes and offerings, we are believing you, our Lord, for provision and protection, jobs and better jobs, raises and bonuses, benefits, sales and commissions, favorable settlements and contracts, interest and income, rebates and returns, checks in the mail, gifts and surprises, money found and debts paid off, expenses decreased and blessings increased. And thank you, Lord, for meeting all of my financial needs so that I may have more than enough to give into the kingdom of God and promote the gospel of Jesus Christ. And we said together, Amen. Amen. I want you to know that some of these fine fellas here decided to go play golf on Friday, and I went with them. So here's what I learned about playing golf. I had a rain check, which means that basically you've already paid for it, and you don't have to pay for it again. Well, when I put the rain check in my pocket, in my billfold, it all went away. There was nothing on it but a blank piece of paper, and I walked in and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to play golf with these guys, and can you monitor that? And the guy said, what is it? I said, it's a rain check, trust me. It is. And if you want to know how much it is, I'll make something up, but it's a rain check. He goes, well, it don't have anything on it. I said, well, you're the one that printed it. It's, if it don't have anything on it, your print's not good enough. So there was just a little faint barcode down there. He said, I got to be able to scan that. I said, just charge me the whole thing. I'm tired of fooling with it. So, you know what? I didn't get a financial blessing that day. But that's all right. We had a good time. Hey, stand with us and let's worship the Lord this morning. So good to have you with us. Welcome home, welcome home, welcome home. Spirit of hunger for righteousness, Lord. Help us to just chase after you and to come closer and closer, Lord. We thank you. We praise you. We love you. We need you, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. Shake hands with somebody. Tell them welcome home. Tell them welcome home. Say to them, welcome home. It's good to have you with us. Welcome to the 9 a.m. service. Before we begin this morning, I've got to tell you something. Some people you just can't do anything with. And this week, our very own Nana, that's what the Lord calls her, so that's what we call her, Pastor Nana, she resigned. She resigned her job. She worked at a real estate firm in Crossville. She resigned this week from that real estate firm. I mean, you can't do anything with some people. The reason she resigned is because she is the newest full-time staff member at ChristPoint. Oh man, those chains are falling. So it's exciting, it's very exciting. And I want to say this much. 4 years ago, walking in and we didn't have two nickels to rub together, and thank God that He's moving us in such a powerful way. I'm excited about that, and excited about Hannah going on full-time staff. So that's wonderful, and we're just moving from here. So, amen, I want to say a couple things real quick. I want you to throw up Vertex. I want to tell you about Vertex quickly. Vertex will be going on this Wednesday night. So I want you to, Vertex, literally, the word vertex means it's a point where two lines cross. So the way we say vertex is it's literally the point to where the will of the church crosses the vision. The vision of the church crosses the will of the Lord. So it's that point where the will of the Lord meets the vision of the church. So we want to get you plugged in. There's all kinds of discussion. There's all kinds of things going on Vertex night. So we do this about once every so often, and Wednesday night will be Vertex night. So we want you to come. The last one was entitled Engage Night because of the Engage vision for the year. So Vertex, this Wednesday night, we want you to be here. And if you're thinking, hey, I'd like to get plugged in somewhere, that's what Vertex is for. If you're thinking, I'd like to know more about the church, that's what Vertex is for. If you're thinking, I'd like to talk to Pastor about his wife, that's what Vertex is for. So just come on in, and we will get you plugged in. It's a good time. It's a wonderful opportunity, and we will have lots of people in with lots of things to talk about. So I invite you to be a part of Vertex. This is crazy. The sermon title for today is This is Crazy. First of all, if you're listening to us by radio this morning, I want to say welcome home. I want to say we are ChristPoint Church. We're located on the square in Sparta, Tennessee. And if you just come across town, go to the square, look west for the women there. It'll be look right. And you'll see us at ChristPoint Church. Our service times are at 9 and 11. And if you are watching us by one of our links by YouTube, and we will soon be on Ben Lomond TV also. So yes. We want to say welcome home. Welcome home and be good. It's going to be good to see each and every one of you. This is crazy. The title sermon this morning, This is Crazy. Now, I passed a book around over the past few months entitled Circle Makers. Some of you may have gotten one. What we're doing is I bought about 20 of them, and we're just circulating those things. So if you don't get one, or if you have one and you haven't circulated it, please bring it. We're going to pack. We're just circulating those things around. Circle makers, we're going to be talking a little bit more about circle makers in the fall. We're going to be getting a little bit more in depth with that. But the author of the book Circle Makers, his name is Mark Batterson. Authors a lot of books, pastors, very large church in D.C. area. And he mentions in his book about going paragliding. We would probably call it hang gliding in the South. He decides that this is one thing on his bucket list that he wanted to do. So he's in another part of the world. He decides, we're up on this bluff, strap me to you and let's go. So that was pretty much his plan, was to do this. I want to do this. Now, I wanted to do this back when I was younger, but I wanted to do it off the back of I lived on Rimrock. So I wanted to do it off the back and land on our farm down in the valley. So I didn't know that you had to be trained to do that. I didn't try it, but I thought this would be the coolest thing. You fly around a wilderness land, So the thing is he tries this, strap me in, and back, where they were, they had to be strapped in. It was probably very, very high, and he has a "this is crazy" moment just before the launch from the bluff, just before the cliff's edge. He has a "this is crazy" moment. This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. What am I doing? I know it's exciting, but this is crazy. Why would anybody in their right mind want to jump off of a bluff? Now, why would I want to do that? Now, I go back to the old airplane thing. Parachute. Why would anybody want to jump out of a perfectly good airplane? I don't get it. But he says, I have a "this is crazy" moment. This is crazy. This is crazy. And then all of a sudden they push off of the edge of the cliff, and there's nothing but smooth sailing. The wind picks them up, lifts them up, and they just glide over the landscape, glide over the earth's surface. Just a wonderful experience. He goes from "this is crazy" to "this is awesome." See, let me tell you something. If we never try "this is crazy," then we will never experience "this is awesome." Think about that. I want you to get that today. If we never try "this is crazy," then we will never experience "this is awesome." Because a "this is awesome" moment doesn't come from watching reruns of Gilligan's Island and SpongeBob with your kids. It comes from a "this is crazy" moment. There's people in our society today that are direct examples of a "this is crazy" moment. They're living a "this is awesome" life. See, if we're going to fly, then at some point we're going to have to run off the edge. There's no in-betweens. If we're going to fly, at some point we're going to have to run off the edge. Now, before the girls started school this year, we took them 2 days to the lake, and we were in this little cove, and both days we saw an eagle. When you see an eagle, you watch. I don't care who you are and where you are in this world. If you see an eagle, it is majestic. The eagle flew over us both days, and we watched him twice. Him or her, don't know. But the thing is eaglets or chicks, as they grow, the nest is rather large. As they grow, they look a lot like their parents, except they're not developed yet. They don't have the maturity yet. So they begin to start testing the air. They begin to start letting the wind get under the wings and start strengthening their wings. And you know what? Contrary to what we always say, contrary to what we think, the mama does not push them out of the nest. Apparently that doesn't happen, because I read everywhere trying to find where the mama pushes them out of the nest, but she doesn't do it. She flies over them. See, they eat constantly. They eat ongoing. So she begins to start flying over them and holding food back from them. She flies over them with food and says, "You smell this, don't you? Come on. Come on, you smell this?" She'll get close to him. Her and the pair, they mate for life. And she'll fly over them. And he'll fly over them and he'll say, "Come on to the edge just a little bit." See, these chicks, these eaglets, they get to the edge. At some point, they get hungry enough to step off. At some point, they get hungry enough to step into the atmosphere. At some point, they get hungry enough to say, "This is crazy. I mean, this is crazy." But let me tell you something, where an eagle's concerned, if it never steps out into the atmosphere, if the eagle never runs off of the edge, if it never does this, then it never knows what it's like to be an eagle. Think about that. You may look like an eagle, you may have pretty white feathers in the right places, but you know what? You do not know what it's like to be an eagle until you step off. Until you step off, you don't know what it's like. An eagle would just be another weirdo bird if it never flew. But I mean, it's the most majestic and powerful thing that we have, that we can lay our eyes upon in nature today. And if it never flies, it never knows what it's like to be an eagle. In order to get to "this is awesome," we have to reach deeper into the ordinary. We have to go more than just the ordinary. You know what? The ordinary is not good enough anymore. We have to realize that the ordinary is not good enough anymore. It's not what I want anymore. I want more than ordinary. I want extraordinary. If I'm going to have a "this is awesome" moment, then I have got to get out of the boat. I've got to get somewhere. So I want to talk today about the boat, the woman, and the water. So I want you to go with me. The boat, the woman, and the water. Let's go to the boat. Matthew chapter 14, 29. Matthew chapter 14, verse 29. And he said, being Jesus, "Come on." Just like that mother eagle. "Come on." So Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came to Jesus. Man, everybody knows about Peter walking on water. So this is what Peter says. He sees Jesus. They have been out on the water. The water's getting a little bit turbulent. Jesus comes walking to them. And you know what? Peter says, "Hey." And see, I love doing this. When we ride motorcycles, I don't know if you guys picked up on it or not. Johnny and Jamie, I don't know if you picked up on it or not. But you know, there's an etiquette to riding motorcycles. When you're riding along and you see another bike, you just kind of throw your hand down like, "Hey, what's up?" I mean, it's a cool thing. But you don't hi-hat another rider. You don't ignore another rider. When you're out riding, you just kind of like, "Hey, what's up?" You put your hand up, because if you put it up, the wind blows. You put it down, "Hey, what's up?" But I like doing this. Tina just laughed. Tina thinks the funniest thing, so we're riding around like, and I will say I stole that from my son. He does it a lot. So when we're riding, the four of us, he's like, his hands flailing all over the place. So, you know, it's the coolest thing. People remember you. Like, "Hey, I remember that guy. We passed him earlier." But you see, the thing is, you know what? Let's not be ordinary. Let's abandon being ordinary. Let's get into "this is crazy." Peter says, "Look, hey, look at me. Look at me, Lord. I want to get out of the boat. I want to be like," you know what he was saying? "I want to be like you. I want to be like Jesus." Jesus comes walking on the water to him, and he says, "I want to be like you. I want to do what you are doing. I want to be awesome. You know what? I want to be awesome." The boat was what defined Peter as ordinary. The boat was what defined him as ordinary. If he stayed in the boat, we wouldn't have this story to read for thousands of years. If he had stayed in the boat, we wouldn't have that right now. The boat is what defined him as ordinary. The boat provides security and safety. The boat was his security and safety. And when I can't help it, my son has two daughters. I got two granddaughters. You see them running around there all the time. And the little one, she looks at everything. She looks at the thrill of everything. She looks at the challenge of everything. The oldest one looks at the danger of everything. So she, it's like, I'm not going to ride a bicycle because I might turn over. And Sissy's like, get me on the bicycle, I don't care if I wreck. Well, if she does, she freaks out. But the thing is one looks at the thrill, one looks at the danger. See, the boat provided safety for Peter. It provided security for Peter. The boat was Peter's cliff. The boat was Peter's bluff to step off of. The boat was from here to there. There's one step that defines us into this is crazy. This is ordinary. One step goes to this is crazy. One step. Peter had to make a this is crazy step. If Peter had never tried this is crazy, then he would have never experienced this is awesome. He would have never experienced it. Now, some people would say, well, Peter failed because he took his eyes off the Lord. Some people, people just want to look at the negative of everything. Peter failed because he took his eyes off the Lord. Man, that's been preached 100,000 times. Peter failed because he took his eyes off the Lord. Well, let me tell you something. Have you ever walked on water? Because he did a little bit, didn't he? He did it a little bit, so you know what? I say, go Peter. You're awesome. You did a good job. You know what? Peter walked on the water because the boat was no longer good enough. It was no longer good enough. The boat was no longer, it was ordinary. It represented ordinary. It represented security. I don't want to live like this anymore. Lord, I'm stepping out into this is crazy. And when I step out into this is crazy, the boat is never going to be good enough anymore. It's never going to be good enough anymore. But I want you to notice something with me. This story is about Peter. Look at it real close. It's about Peter. It's about Peter and the Lord. That are the main characters, Peter and Jesus. The boat was full of disciples. They were all out in the boat. They were all out there waiting on Jesus. They were out there doing what they were told. Peter was the only one who tried a this is crazy moment. Think about that. Any one of those guys, you know what? I'm going to tell you something. Now, I just know how I am. If Tina jumped up and said, Lord, I'm coming out, I'm walking on water, I'm jumping out there too. I'm like, you ain't going out there without me. If you're going to walk on water, I'm walking on water. I'm about to do this. So you know what? Nobody else moved. Nobody else tried this is crazy. And Peter was the only one to experience this is awesome. Yeah, he might have stumbled a little bit, but you know what? What child don't fall down when they're learning to walk? He stumbled a little bit, but he got out there and he became like Jesus. You know what? When later on, when Jesus has ascended and Peter's on his own and he is preaching the gospel, don't think he didn't reflect back on when the times got tough, when the persecutions got harder. Don't think that he didn't think, you know what? You can't say anything to scare me because I've walked on water. I know what it's like to walk on water. I've been there. You haven't been there. Well, you preach Jesus. You need to stop preaching Jesus, but you haven't been on the water like I've been on the water. There's a different lifestyle on the water. So, let's look. We've looked at the boat. Let's look at the water. John chapter 4, verse 6 and 7. Jacob's well was there. So Jesus, wearied as he was from his journey, was sitting beside the well, and it was about the 6th hour. This is a pretty important little tidbit in here. It was about the 6th hour in Jewish time frame. It was about noon in the afternoon. It was in the heat of the day. And here comes the woman from Samaria. He is in Samaria. They're crossing through Samaria, and his disciples go into town to get something to eat. Jesus hangs out by the well, and here comes the woman. Don't think that Jesus does not know what he is doing. He does this on purpose. Here comes the woman, and she's drawing water in the heat of the day. Now, later on we find out that she's sleeping around. We find out that she's having extramarital relationships. She's sleeping with somebody else's husband. And we realize this as we read. And I'm thinking that she's going to the well in the heat of the day to avoid seeing townfolk. Because when you're doing things that you know aren't right, you know the first thing you want to do is avoid seeing people. You know, I've said this for years. I have watched people. I said it's a progression. They go from the front pews where you're sitting. They go from the front pews to the back pews to the balcony and out. Because when we start doing things Instead of running to people and saying, I need you to pray for me. I need you to help me. I need you to just be patient with me if nothing else. I don't want to run away from the people who can help me. Just be patient with me. Folks will be patient with you. But she was running out to get water in the heat of the day when nobody else wanted to go, so she could avoid seeing town folk, in my theory. See, she obviously had a reputation. She was sleeping around. She had a reputation. And Jesus asked her for a drink. I need you to give me a drink. Hey, how you doing? You doing all right? I need you to give me a drink. See, he broke some Jewish laws right here big time. Number one was he spoke to a woman. He spoke to a woman. Number two was he spoke to a Samaritan woman, and I'm not going to preach that sermon on top of this sermon, but Samaritans were despised by Jewish folks. Jesus being a Jewish man, he speaks to the woman, a Samaritan woman at that, and thirdly, he asked her for a drink of water, which would make him ceremonially unclean to drink after her. So he was saying, number one, here's a law I'm going to break by talking to you. How you doing? Is your day going all right? Because I know more about you than you ever could imagine. How's everything going? Are you good? Okay, you know what? You're a Samaritan woman. I'm not going to hide from that fact. You know what? I'm going to ask you for a drink. I need you to give me a drink. I'm going to drink after you. She stepped out of her comfort zone rather than ducking her head, rather than backing back off, rather than saying, you know what, I could probably get in serious trouble by speaking to a Jewish man out here in public like this, nobody around. You know what, I'm just going. She tried, this is crazy. She kept talking to the Lord. She tried, this is crazy. And later on, if you read this scripture, if you read this passage, you'll find out that she becomes one of the first evangelists that we read about in the Bible. She goes to her entire town. Now the woman who, in my opinion, who was obviously sleeping around, and the Lord tells her she was, and she's obviously trying to avoid people. Her life just flip-flops, and she goes straight into her town and says, "You got to come meet this guy." She becomes one of the first evangelists that we read of, and leads her whole town to the Lord. She tried, this is awesome, and because of that, she tried, this is crazy, and because of that, she became awesome. She became awesome. She became the most awesome person in town. Think about it. You go from being the worst person, the most looked down upon person, the most ridiculed person, the most high-hatted person, to the most popular person and the most awesome person in town, because she didn't run away when she went during the "this is crazy" moment. She didn't run away. Let's look at the water. The boat, the woman, and the water. See, let me ask you before we dive into the water, what are we believing God for? Now let me ask you that simply, what are we believing God for? See, I'm going to say this twice so you don't forget it. The only way to do the impossible is to step out of the ordinary and into the "this is crazy." Don't ever think that the only way to do the impossible is to step out of the ordinary and into the "this is crazy." That's the only way it's going to happen. That's the only way it's going to. Sometimes God will take us to the deepest places. Now, we talked last week about God taking us through the darkness, just like He took us through the darkness on Monday with the eclipse. It was over, and it got light again, and everybody went on about their business. God's going to take you through your darkness. You know, sometimes God will take us to the deepest places in order to take us through. You know what? We don't appreciate how much He is powerful in our lives until we see Him taking us through the tough times. Let's look at Exodus chapter 14, looking at the water, 15 and 16. The Lord said to Moses, now they're at the water's edge. They've left the captivity of Egypt. They're at the water's edge. The army of Egypt is after them. He says, why do you cry to me? I love it. Why do you cry to me? Tell the people of Israel to get up and go forward. Tell them to go forward. Lift up your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it, that the people of Israel, you notice that he don't say the people, and let the people of Israel may go through on the sea on dry ground. Now look at it first. I want you to go forward. He don't explain to him first what he wants him to do. I want you to go forward. Now why are you crying to me? Why are you crying to me? Because have you not, at this point in our relationship, do you not know who I am and what I'm capable of and what you mean to me? Go forward. Okay, Lord, let's just talk about this just a minute. Just want to make sure you're on the same page. I appreciate you leading us out of captivity. I appreciate that and all. And you know what? The army's behind us. I appreciate the pillar of fire you got holding them back. But you know what? There's a big, big body of water here, and I don't understand the whole let's go forward thing. I'm sorry I'm not catching it. I'm having a difficult time here with it. He says, get your staff and lift it up and divide the sea, and then you take your people. Now, I didn't tell you anybody else was going. Your people, my people, Israel, are going across on dry land. Not on mud, not going to get stuck in the mud. You're going to go across on dry land. Now, if you think that's not crazy, think about the depth of this. When the Word says that they literally went through on dry land and walls of water were on each side. You can look inside the water. It's like, wow. It's the coolest thing. I want you to move across. Look at the depth of the miracles that the Lord did. I want you to lift up your staff. See, somebody had to step to the water's edge and believe in that this is crazy. Somebody had to believe in it. See, somebody had to step out and say, look, I'm going to do what you tell me to. You have never failed me. I don't expect you to ever fail me. If you tell me to go forward, I'm going to do it. If you tell me to go forward, I'm going to do it. Somebody's got to step to the water's edge, and somebody's got to say, I'm going to look like an idiot if this don't happen. I'm going to look nuts here if this don't happen. But you know what? I believe it's going to happen. Somebody's got to step into a this is crazy moment before the entire whole of the nation can experience that this is awesome. He steps out there and he lifts his staff, and the Lord begins to start moving back the waters. But I want you to look with me at verses 13 and 14. I want you to look at 13 and 14. And Moses said to the people, fear not. I love this. Fear not. Stand firm. Don't go anywhere. And see the salvation of the Lord, which He will work for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall never see again. Think about this. Let's reword this so we can understand it real well. The enemy that you see that beats you up on a daily basis, if you will step into this is crazy, you will never see them again. If you step into this is crazy means that you're stepping off of something you don't know where your feet are landing. You're stepping into an atmosphere that you don't know anything about. If you step into a this is crazy moment, and a this is awesome moment will follow, and the enemy that you see at your doorstep, you will never see again. Because you remember what the Lord said, your people Israel, my people Israel will go across, not those people there. They're not going to make it. The enemy is not going to make it. See, if we don't step out, we're not going to know what this is awesome is all about. But see, there is a this is crazy moment. There is, in verse 14, he says, the Lord will fight for you. The Lord will fight for you, but did we read 14? Let's look at it again. The Lord will fight for you. You have only to be silent. The Lord will fight for you. You have only to be silent. This is the crazy thing right here. The Lord's going to fight for you. Step out into a this is crazy moment, followed by this is awesome life. The enemy that you see before you right now, you'll never see again. And let me tell you something. The Lord is going to fight for you. The Lord is the one that's going to fight for you. And let me tell you something. All you've got to do is be quiet. All you got to do is be silent. There's that again. It was in Joshua, the book of Joshua also. All you got to do is be quiet. In other words, don't fight against the this is awesome. Because let me tell you something. Step off here. Step off here. Well, that's crazy. Yeah, but step off here and see. Step off here and see if it's not see if it's not crazy. See if it's not awesome. You know what? If you step off here and you'll see, don't fight against the this is awesome by speaking negativity and doubt. Oh, I can't do that. I just can't do that. I can't do what you do. I can't do that. The Lord said, let me tell you, they had never seen anything like this before. They could never even imagine anything like this before. And God is saying, do something that is crazy. Do something that is crazy. Let me tell you what is awesome. God will fight for you. Think about that. That is awesome. God will fight for you. He will take you through your impossibility. He will take you through it. He will defeat your enemy. Let me tell you what is awesome. What is awesome is God will do this for you. Let me tell you what is crazy. He will defeat your enemy in the deepest places that He just brought you through. He will defeat the very enemy that you think you can't defeat in the very place that He just brought you through. Because, see, the army of Egypt followed after them, and not one of them lived. Not one of them. The Word says that their bodies washed up on the shore because the Lord brought the waters in upon them. See, the thing is God will fight for me and you. I promise you, He will fight for us. He will take us through. But you know what? If you don't want a "this is crazy" moment, then all you got to do is just right here in that scripture, just talk negatively. Just be doubtful. I don't think so. This is crazy. Didn't think this could happen. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Because let me tell you something. If you read anywhere in the Bible, you're going to find a bunch of "this is crazy" moments. This is crazy what God is telling me to do. This is crazy. It is crazy. But you know what? If I don't step out into a "this is crazy" moment, I'm not going to know what it's like to live a "this is awesome" life. So think about it. I want you to, worship team, if you would come, and I want you to do something for me. If you, some of you sometimes flip out, go back there and get ready for stuff. Give me just a minute. Don't leave here until you hear this scripture. Exodus chapter 14, verse 2. Worship team, if you would come. Exodus chapter 14, verse 2. Tell the people of Israel, this is at the beginning, tell the people of Israel to turn back. Tell them to turn back. And He gives them some locations. But you notice He says, between the place and the sea, between Migdol and the sea. I want you to have them turn back. Turn back on purpose. Have them turn back. And I want you to encamp facing it. I want you to turn back. I want you to look at what the Lord is doing here. I want you to loop back. I want you to circle around. I want you to appear confused. Because He tells us in verse 3. I want you to look at verse 3 with me. For Pharaoh will say to the people of Israel, they are wandering in the land, the wilderness has shut them in. It will give the enemy false hope. It will give the enemy false. It will confuse the enemy. If you do what I tell you to do, it does not make sense. It sounds like it's crazy. Who in the world would deliberately hem themselves in to where they can't get out into a situation? But Pharaoh will think that you are lost. Pharaoh will think that you are wandering. Pharaoh will think that you are trapped. Don't forget that this is the last time you will ever see the enemy. Don't forget that. You will never see these guys again. Look back. I am confusing the enemy. He says, I am hardening their hearts even right now. I am confusing the enemy. And the very place that I'm taking you through, I'm about to wipe out your enemy. Let me tell you what's crazy. The enemy thinks that we are ignorant. That's what's crazy. The enemy thinks that we are ignorant. He thinks that we're ignorant of God's plan. He thinks we're ignorant of His plan. He thinks that we're ignorant to follow God. He thinks that we don't even know how to do that. Let me tell you what's awesome. God's plan is miles ahead of the devil's. Always miles ahead of the devil's plan. So let me tell you something. When the devil's trying to get me and you to buy into something ignorant, to buy into something that don't make sense, to buy into something sometimes that does make sense, when he's trying to get us to buy into it, you know what? God's plan, remember, God's plan is always miles and miles ahead of the devil's plan. You know what else is awesome? If we follow Christ, we win. Let's not forget that today. Let's remember that above everything else. If we follow Christ, we win. If you don't get anything else from the message today, if we follow Christ, we win. Let me say it one more time. If we follow Christ, we win. Let me tell you, 29 years ago next month, if I'm not mistaken, it was the third Sunday in September in 1988. See, I had a "this is crazy" moment. I had a "this is crazy" moment. My friend invited me to church over and over and over, didn't give up on me. And like I've said 100 times, or 150 times in here, Invite somebody to church, because I promise you they just might go with you, and they probably will. My friend invited me to church that I worked with. I looked up to him. Worked with my dad's age. I mean, he's an older man. He invited me to church on an ongoing basis. And I went to church with him 29 years ago next month. And I had a "this is crazy" moment sitting right back over here. I'll never forget this. And you might think this is funny, but I'm telling you, it's the truth. This is how dumb I was to church or the Lord. Nobody was in there. And I'm going to tell you, it happens. Nobody was in there. It was a small little place. Nobody was in. We knew we were the only visitors. And the speaker or the pastor preached a sermon, and my wife, Tina, she punches me on the leg. I'm like, "What?" It's exactly what I said. "What?" She goes, I'm like, "What?" I mean, talk to me. I was so ignorant of what of the Lord, and so he punched me. Let's go to the altar. All right. So I go to the altar, came right down through here, went right here. Little thing there, little wooden thing, and I knelt at it, and I looked around, there's about 10 men around me, praying, helping me pray. And I'm like, "This is crazy. This is crazy." I had a "this is crazy" moment. Had no idea what I was doing. It didn't matter. God knew what He was doing. I had a "this is crazy" moment at the altar 29 years ago next month. And for 29 years, I've lived a "this is awesome" life. Because I followed the Lord. Did I do everything right? No. Did I make money the right way? No. Did I hurt people? Yes. But you know what? It's been "this is awesome." Because I've had a relationship with the Lord, and I wouldn't give that up for anything. It has been a "this is awesome" life. And you know what? I want you to have that. I want you to have that too, so stand with me. Stand with me. I don't want you to leave here and say, "You know what? You know, that crazy stuff is okay, but it's just not for me." Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Make a step. Step out and see if God don't step out with you. Step out and see that if you're not sitting here years later telling my story, saying, "If somebody hadn't invited me to church, I wouldn't be preaching the gospel today. If somebody hadn't invited me, if people hadn't have prayed with me, if people hadn't been patient with me, I wouldn't be here right now." So I want to invite you to have a "this is crazy" moment. So that crazy moment comes when we invite the Lord into our heart. You know what? This is crazy. The world thinks you're nuts. Who wants to give their heart to the Lord? You know what? Do you know that the population of church attenders has decreased in my lifetime by half? There's half as many people going to church as there was when I was a kid. So people around us in society today say, "Well, you're nuts." No, I'm not nuts. Just because I'm not crazy, but I've had a crazy moment. And I'm going to continue to have a crazy moment. Pray with me. If you don't care, bow your head, close your eyes. I want you to pray with me and follow after me. Repeat this. If you're in the house, you're visiting, we do this to help you. We pray this out loud so we can all pray it together. We pray it with intent. We pray it with the deliverance. And we pray it for all of our folks to pray it together. Pray with me out loud. Dear Lord, I come before you. I'm a simple person, and I need forgiveness. Lord, I'm asking you right now, come into my heart, forgive me of my sins. I'm going to ask you right now, Lord, to create in me a pure heart, renewing me a right spirit. And Lord, I thank you for what you've just done. I thank you for forgiving me. In your name I pray. Amen. With your heads bowed and your eyes closed, tell me, raise your hand and let me know who prayed that prayer for the first time. There's one, thank you. There's one, thank you. Amen. Amen. Yeah, raise your hand and tell me, I prayed that prayer for the first time. I need you to let me know. Amen, that's good stuff. See, that's why we're here. That's why we're here. Now, what I want to do is I want to ask our Pastor Nana to sing a little bit more. I want to ask Nana to bring us into a throne room just a little bit more. And I want to invite you to come to the altar. See, because what is that place? What are you waiting to get into that? This is crazy in your walk with the Lord. You know, Pastor, I've already given my heart to the Lord, but you know what? I think God's calling me to do something crazy. Come on up and let's pray about it. Tell me about it. Let's find out what God is doing. I invite you up. I invite you up. Sing with us if you know it. Will be this Wednesday. I want to challenge you to be here. There's avenues of outreach that we just don't have hands to fill. There's avenues there's opportunities that we just don't have people in those places. I have people asking me all the time, why don't we do this? Because we're praying God sends us somebody. Because we just can't do enough. And you say, we've even had people walk in here. I've had people walk in and say, I don't know that there's a place for me because it looks like everything is covered. Yes, our folks do a wonderful job. You don't have to worry about getting coffee. It's made for you. You don't worry about snacks. It's made for you. You don't worry about getting greeted because it's done wonderfully. I don't worry about Pastor Nana and her team, the worship team, being prepared because they are. Yeah, it looks that way, and everybody does their job and does it very well, but we have more jobs to do. So I want to invite you to Vertex. I want to invite you to come out. I want to invite you to spend some time with us. And Wednesday night, fuel this week, we'll also eat. Don't think that we're not going to eat, because we're going to eat. Like I say at my house, we feed and lay our ears back. That means we're going to eat. So thank you, Lord, for your goodness. Thank you for your blessings, Lord, and thank you, Lord, that Lord, I want that this is crazy moment. Lord, I want to step into something that's crazy. I want to do things that are crazy because, you know what, I know that this is awesome follows after it. Lord, thank you. We praise you. We love you. We need you, Lord. We're going to walk out of here, and there's going to be a mission field that we're walking into. Let us go forth. We may not know what it looks like. We may not be able to even get our head above water if we step out into it, but let us go forth because you're providing a way. Lord, we thank you and we praise you. In your name we pray, amen. You are dismissed. We good with this one? Stay over.